Have you ever wanted to travel back in time? I know I have. One time I'd love to go back and experience will be the 1920s. Crazy, crazy time in our country's history. You had the Great Depression, Al Capone and the gangsters. You had Prohibition. Huge, huge events in the 1920s. Of course, they called it the Roaring Twenties. Now, you had roaring with fun, with the jazz music. You had crazy laws in place, gangster mentalities, all kinds of corruption. And this was all bolstered with the economy as well, because the economy was just doing insane profits, more than doubling during the 1920s. And then, of course, when it all came to a crashing halt in 1929, the country would have never experienced anything like what they experienced then. Now, it all began January 17th, 1920. The Volstead Act takes place. Prohibition begins. The ban of purchasing of alcohol, manufacturing of alcohol, selling of alcohol. And then you had the Bureau of Prohibition, which was led by Eliot Ness, where their main job was to prevent alcohol being manufactured, prevent people from selling it, prevent people from buying it. Of course, one consequence of Prohibition was people were going in their backyards, in their bathrooms, and they were cooking alcohol. Which you had, during Prohibition, you had over 10,000 people killed from drinking bad mixes of alcohol called wood alcohol. Of course, the ones that didn't die, if they got a hold of those bad batches, they go blind where they couldn't see. You're talking a 1920s Stevie Wonder. Horrible stuff. Of course, you had opportunistic people that would try to take advantage of the situation, and then the Prohibition. Al Capone, it was a financial boom for him. I mean, he's strutting around in his suits, making all kinds of money off alcohol. And it's estimated by the mid-1920s, $100 million a year in revenue. And the federal agents estimate $60 million a year of that was from the speakeasies, where he was supplying in the back rooms of businesses, speakeasies, selling them alcohol, tons of profit. And he was real greedy too. You get a competitor, he'd kill him. Nobody could compete with him. I mean, all kinds of murders, shady situations. It was horrible. And then, of course, there before Black Friday and the stock market crashing, real bad murder. Valentine's Day Massacre, 1929. Al Capone becomes known as public enemy number one. Killed several people. They were competitor gangsters. He didn't want anybody infringing on his business, so what do? They get rid of them. And, of course, later that year, October 29th, 1929, day lives in infamy. That was the day the stock market crashed. Huge losses. And that week building up to that day, losses were about $30 billion. $30 billion. That's 10 times what the federal budget was for 1929. Insane amount of money. Huge problems. You had people that were so greedy with the way the stock market was growing, they were getting loans against the stocks. I mean, they were getting stock revenues with loan money that wasn't really there. And it was causing major problems. You had people freaking out. And you didn't even have enough currency to cover the money that was even being borrowed. It didn't even exist. I mean, you had loans in the stock market that were $8.5 billion. And there wasn't that enough currency that existed in the entire country. Horrible time. But we came out of it. We became stronger. 1931, Eliot Ness got rid of Al Capone, got him in prison. 1933, they repealed Prohibition because they realized it cost more to enforce it than it did to get rid of it. So they got rid of it. And of course, to protect their money with the loans, you had the FDIC created. And those all assist us today in the life that we realize is the greatest on the planet. So, thank you. And for any other information, check out my discussion. There's a lot of interesting things you can read about Al Capone in the 1920s. So, hope you enjoy.